This is Dr. Catherine Dow reporting for Room Now. I'm so delighted here to have a guest, Dr. David Karp, the 84th president of the American College of Rheumatology. Dr. Karp, thank you for granting me this interview.
Hello, Catherine. Glad to talk to you.
So you've been a really busy man this past year. When I interviewed you a year ago, you told me about your vision for the ACR and all the initiatives you were going to be working on. And I thought to myself, wow, that's a really long list. Well, what do you think? This past year, what has been your proudest accomplishments? You've done so much.
Well, maybe I alluded to it in my presidential address, and it probably wasn't something that we talked about specifically. But if you read Atul Gawande's book, the Checklist Manifesto, he talks about the list that airline pilots have, for takeoff and landing to assure safety, as well as emergencies in flight, like the loss of an engine. And the first thing on the list says, keep flying the airplane. Don't be so interested in the emergency that you forget to keep the nose up and the plane moving forward. And that's what I was most proud of, is that the ACR managed to keep moving forward despite the COVID-19 pandemic. We were all faced with unusual circumstances at work and at home. Some of us were seeing patients with COVID or had other work assignments. People had children at home that they had to worry about. So, the ACR staffers, the 100 or so of those, just kept moving forward. And, we have over 560 volunteers for the ACR. And a volunteer is a volunteer. They don't have to be working for the ACR, but all of them kept their committee work going. All of them kept their board meetings going, and we got a lot done. So I think that's the major accomplishment, is that we kept going through the pandemic. But I know you were interested in some specific things, and if you've been watching Convergence, and I know that you have, you saw that the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee that was started by Dr. Ellen Gravelisi during her term as president has had a big impact on what we've seen at Convergence. There were talks about implicit bias. There were talks about how to have a bias-free fellowship application, how we can recruit and retain underrepresented in medicine individuals. So this was just the start of what the DEI committee is working on. They're going to be providing the college with a lot of things to include in our college business, in our recruitment, in our what people can do in their offices, as well as our meetings going forward. So that's just one thing. Some things that I didn't have a chance to talk about during my presidential address that I think are very exciting. Last fall, Beth Jonas, who was our chair of our committee on training and workforce, brought up the fact that the ACR has come up with these workforce studies. I think the first was in 2005 that talked about the fact that the demand for rheumatology services was going up, and the number of rheumatologists and rheumatology professionals was going down. And that was a big gap, both in adult and particularly in pediatric rheumatology. And we were very precise about quantifying that and how many thousands of people we were going to be short in the workforce. But we hadn't really come up with very many solutions. Actually, we have a lot of things that we were working on, but hadn't really taken as big a bite out of the apple as I think we needed to. So I asked Dan Badafarano, a rheumatologist from San Antonio, who had recently retired from the military, but had worked on some of these workforce papers in the past, to lead a working group of adult and pediatric rheumatologists and rheumatology professionals. And they've come up with some very interesting solutions, sort of a multi-tiered approach, including some things like, rather than the ACR or the Rheumatology Research Foundation funding, fellowships in places where there aren't any, but using our expertise to help residencies in underserved areas, the upper Midwest or the West, and some areas of the Southwest, those areas that don't have many rheumatologists or especially pediatric rheumatologists, but might have a residency that's primed for that we can use our expertise to help them get one up and going. How we can actually utilize our whole interprofessional team better to see the patients that don't have access to rheumatologists, how we can help train our primary care colleagues to see some of the patients that may not need to see a rheumatologist as often as they think they do. Just a lot of different things, but it's a really very detailed approach, and we've got benchmarks and are going to move forward in the next couple of years. I mean, everything that an ACR president says they want to do during their presidency really takes place over multiple years and involves many people in the college.
No, absolutely, and those are wonderful initiatives. And I was very impressed, particularly during the Global Rheumatology Summit about rheumatology for all. And that was the one thing that just really struck to me is the fact how much the ACR has growth. It's beyond just, us, it's everybody. And so do you think that we'll be seeing this Global Rheumatology Summit again as an annual event at the American College of Rheumatology meeting?
Well, that's the plan, Catherine, and I don't see any reason why not. And again, that's another example. That that summit was one of the first things that our global engagement special committee, headed by Evelyn Shea, put together as a product for one of our meetings. But when Paula Marchetta was the president of the ACR, we had the idea to create that committee because we did realize that the ACR had so many interactions with EULAR and APLAR, PANLAR, AFLAR, that all of those interactions really needed a home, really needed a place in the college where we could have educational interactions, research interactions, training interactions. And so, again, Ellen Gravelisi put that committee, or launched that committee, in February of 2020. And it sort of took off again during the pandemic without looking back. They have put together a large number of initiatives, and I think the Global Rheumatology Summit was just spectacular. And yes, we will continue to do that year after year.
I wish it was part of the programs because I think some people missed it, being that it was pre-conference. Now, I'm going to switch your attention to something a little bit different.
Sure.
You've been very active on Twitter, probably tweeting more than any ACR president and have more followers than any ACR president before you. So do you think digital education through social media will have a role in the future?
Well, sure. And I think that's, being the ACR president who has tweeted the most is a low bar, but it's been fun. And, especially during virtual conferences, I think social media has taken the place of some of those hallway conversations. Did you see this session? What do you think about this? Let's go talk about a collaboration. So I think that's definitely going to be something that we do in the future. As far as a training tool, sure, it has a lot of advantages, some limitations, but I think mainly it's a community that we are all able to take part in. It's very interesting, that the pets of the ACR was a trending topic today, apparently.
Absolutely. Well, now that you have passed the baton to our next president, Dr. Ken Sagg, what advice do you have to share with him?
Ken is going to do a great job. He's a skilled researcher and a great administrator. He's been a great friend to me over the past year. So I have no doubt that he's going to be a successful president. I think the advice that I was given, which I think is great advice for any president, is, or any boss, if it's not about you, it's about the team. So just keep looking forward, keep everybody on task, and we have a great group of staff members at the ACR and a superb group of volunteers. All you have to do is get out of their way.
So what are you going to do now that you close this chapter of your presidency?
Well, as you well know, I have a division to run, and we're going to we have some plans there to grow and expand, and I'll be working on that. And I have my research to keep going and growing. So I don't think I'll lack for anything to do.
Well, one last question. All right.
Sure.
Can we ever expect a second term from you? You did such an amazing job. I have to congratulate you and thank you for leading the college. I mean, you made us all feel like we're welcome to come to the table.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, but it's in the bylaws. You can only serve one term, so I don't think I'll be reprising that role. But I'm sure that they'll find things for me to do at the American College of Rheumatology.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. This is Dr. David Cart, and I truly appreciate your service. And thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter at KDow2011. I'm also known as the Dow Index. And watch RheumNow for the rest of the coverage.